Welcome to Bryce Canyon. Driven over here today from Moab. As soon as I got here, straight out with the camera because just look at these conditions. Snow and sunshine. Now those conditions may not last, so I'm feeling the need, despite the fact I haven't done any proper location searches yet, to get out and about and get some pictures done. Well, I've quickly set up a shot here and wanting to make the most of this light. Probably got about another half hour of light. First afternoon, been a long day. Started at Dead Horse Point and now got here. But what a great day. I've got 4 days here to really get into it, and tomorrow I'll be out and about location finding, trying to get to know the area well. I'm up at about 8,000 feet here, and there's quite a wind blowing, so I'm certainly glad of all my thermal layers. They've come in useful on this trip. Last night I stood over the other side of the amphitheatre in the darkness and did a night shot with the starry sky, which was quite an adventure. Quite pleased with the results of that. Well, I'm used to having my dawn patrols to myself, but this morning, out of nowhere, we have a tour group from Japan who has joined me for my morning photography session. Morning all!
Nice, hello! Beautiful,
So
nice morning.
I think there's enough room to share this view, but it's a bit of a different experience from my normal solitary dawn vigil. Looking at the landscape, you can see how now the sun's painted that landscape, picking up the hoodoos down there. Way back from Bryce Canyon, back across the Canyonlands again for the last few days. I'm just amazed, really, driving across this vast landscape, just how big and epic America's Southwest is. Huge, vast, empty areas like this Castle Valley. Well, my method of getting around here in Utah has been this rental four-wheel drive, a Jeep, which has done the job admirably, it must be said. Earlier in the trip there was a fair bit of snow and ice around, so I was certainly glad of the four-wheel drive. I haven't done any serious off-roading, but I wouldn't have liked to have been here without four-wheel drive. Well, I'm back in Arches for the last few days, and I've got some ideas to make the most of the time I've got left. Got some good ideas, a few good locations plugged in for both some night shots, utilizing the experience I've put together doing night shots at Bryce Canyon, Hopefully here there won't be much light pollution looking this way, for example. And really want to finish the trip on a roll. Well, I'm just quite tempted by this view here. Obviously it's completely the wrong time of day, but a long lens perspective looking towards the La Salle Mountains there could work quite well. Of course, I've just been chatting over here to a park ranger, interesting bloke, and of course over here in this area here you need a hiking permit to go in there because it's a protected environment for some reason. I think of all the incredible rock formations here in Arches National Park, this is the one that for me is the most impressive. Landscape arch. Just look at that span. Amazing, really. Obviously only a matter of time before it collapses. Quite a difficult one to photograph, particularly this time of year because of its northerly aspect. I'm not sure it's going to work for me as a location, but from a purely geographic point of view, an amazing site. The story is when they came to designate the national park here at Arches, they got landscape and delicate arch mixed up, which I can quite see now the logic of that. And back in 1991, around about this bit of the arch here, under there, a huge slab broke off and narrowly missed some hikers who were underneath. One of the things I've been determined to do here in Utah is avoid just going to the well-known viewpoints and producing the cliched images. There are guidebooks available to photograph this region which specify where to go, at what time of the day, what lens to use, and incredibly specific about each location. The thing is, while that sort of information can be a good starting point, it's quite dangerous because you can end up slipping into just doing the same old pictures that everyone else does. And that kind of formulaic approach is so opposite to the way I like to work. And I find it bizarre that in a landscape as vast as this, that there should be such a follow the herd mentality. So what I've been trying to do here is just come with no preconceived ideas about what and where I'm going to shoot. I have ideas about techniques and the like I'm going to use, for example the night photography, and I've been having a lot of fun doing long lens landscapes. But what it boils down to is what I'm doing here today. Getting the boots out, going out and looking at locations, interpreting what I'm seeing and piecing together locations and ideas for subsequent shoots. And really in such a vast, epic landscape with so much potential, I'm really spoilt for choice. Below me is the Colorado River and the vastness of Canyonlands National Park. An absolutely immense, huge landscape. And that size gives me real problems, because how do you convey something this big photographically? My approach is to go for a long lens landscape to really compress perspective and emphasize the drama and scale of the landscape. I'm going to go for a panorama, and on top of that, a friend of mine has challenged me to do a 400mm panorama. So I think this is my opportunity. I have to tell you, shooting video blogs by yourself is quite difficult. So I've been balancing the camera, the video camera on my camera bag there. Camera's set up over here, as usual, on the edge of a fairly precipitous drop. Camera set up for this shoot is the Canon 5D Mark III there. And I've got a 100 to 400mm lens on, and that it's extended to its maximum at the moment, and I'm using a polarizer because of the angle of the light. I'm looking due south, and that angle is just perfect for this shot. I was up here last week to do the recce, and you could barely see anything below me. The visibility was so poor. It was snowing, there was wind, it was pretty bleak. But this afternoon it's really still, it's relatively warm and sunny. Complete contrast. Well, as the light's got some way to go before it's at its best, I would normally be waiting, but as you can see down there, we have a shadow moving across the foreground. Well, not so much the foreground, but the lower portion of the frame. And so I've made some vertical images at about 70mm, just because I want that kind of aspect to the picture. I think it's worked pretty well. Just gone down. An absolutely beautiful evening has been had. Gorgeous light. I've used a twisted old tree over there as foreground. I managed to do my long lens panoramas. I did the 400mm panorama as well. Just one of those sessions that leaves me totally buzzing. I'm just really full of it. Well, I'm preparing for a night out in Arches National Park, doing 3 different locations for night photography. It's my last night here on this trip and I want to finish with a roll. So for a night out in winter, obviously I'm having to prepare quite with a lot of care, in particular with what I take. Now, critical to this evening's, one of the most important things is the head torch. Without this I'd be stuffed. And so obviously I've got a head torch, I've got a second torch with me, and I've got spare batteries for the head torch. So I can use the second torch to change the batteries for the head torch in the dark, should I need to. The last thing I want to be doing is coming down the mountain in the darkness with head torch batteries fading. Obviously I'll need to take as well clothing, because this time of year, as soon as the sun goes down, the temperature plummets. So I'm going to have to take plenty of insulative layers, but I have to walk up the mountain in the first place, so I can't wear too much, else I'll just sweat on the way up. So quite a few problems to think about here. Plus all the photographic gear as well, and of course water. Well, here I am again, trudging up a hill with a heavy pack on my back. It's my destiny in life. It's got to be done to get to these locations, of course, but sometimes I do wonder if I'm getting too old for this stuff. But I suppose it's doing this sort of thing that keeps us young. The landscape now has lost a lot of its snow since when I first got here, but the north-facing slopes still have a smattering, just enough to give it all a wintry feel. Now, Delicate Arch is of course one of the most famous landmarks in Arches National Park, in fact in all of Utah. So I'm not expecting to have this landscape to myself this evening. I wouldn't normally be coming up here because I've photographed it before and it's such a well-known icon. The world is not exactly short of pictures of Delicate Arch, but at the same time I have an idea for doing this starry night picture which I think will really be quite unique, and the conditions for this are perfect today. It's got to be worth a try. It's good to be out hiking actually. All these huge American portions and breakfasts need working off. I must admit I'm at the stage of the trip now where hanging around diners and motels is starting to get to me. I'm looking forward to home cooking. But the photography's been an absolute joy. And I'm hoping to finish off this afternoon with a real, and this evening with a real epic session. Well, I'm getting close now. Done most of the height. And really is quite a unique environment up here. The colour of the stone, the vegetation, really special place. Well, here I am, and you can see it's an absolutely classic view. Understandably popular with photographers, and sure enough, I'm not alone this evening. There's a fair few tripods up here, and I was expecting that. Well, the conditions are much better actually than when I was here 20 years ago. There's some high altitude cloud and the snow really does make a difference. Plus, the light is gorgeous. So, what a last evening here in Utah. Well, the sun's just dipping down over the hills there to the southwest. Last light, just losing the last light on the arch. But a beautiful evening. And it's only just begun. Well, the sun's gone down now and most of the people have left, apart from Antonello and Sabrina here from Italy, who are hanging on for the last of the twilight. I'm going to stick around, as you know, to wait for the stars to come out. So I've probably got about an hour's wait. Well, I'm just set up now, just waiting for it to get dark, waiting for the stars to come out, and still a lot of brightness in the sky. I like to get my composition sorted out and my focusing while I can still see something while there's still light about, because it all gets much more difficult once it's dark. But I love these waits and I'm really quite excited about the shot that I've got in mind. I'm using the 14mm super wide angle, shooting vertically, so I'm going to have a huge expanse of sky over the arch, hopefully laden with stars. Well, the picture I'm wanting to do here is really the main objective of being here. The one earlier with the last light of the day, gorgeous light, but of course I'd done that before, as have many people. Now I'm really excited about how hopefully this picture will come together. Three days later from that starry night session up at Delicate Arch, I'm back here, back in England, copying my image. Cut. Start again.
Slow down.
3 days later from that beautiful starry night session at Delicate Arch, I'm back here in the office, copying my images from the whole American trip. Now the huge job of editing and processing them starts. Already the trip seems like a memory, but it was a fantastic experience and a wonderful photographic shoot, and one way or another I will be going back to that area.